Mr. Yaakov Hardof is an electrical engineer and founder of Amperon Electronics and Sound Systems and Interconcept Incorporated. In 1957, he and his wife had a private audience with the Rebbe.
I turned to my wife and smilingly told her that I understand Pnina bat Tova, Pnina bat Mordechai, that you are sixth generation remote from the original Loubavitch Rabbi, Zalman Shneur, and that you are a Slonim, and you should be proud of it, and I wish you happiness and health and good marriage and healthy children. And then he turned to me, and the conversation went into electrical engineering. I said, "You are an electrical engineer?" And he said, smiling, "Yes." And as a matter of fact, when I came to this country, I wanted to contribute for the war effort. It was the war years, and I was a supervisor at the Brooklyn Navy Yard for the electrical work they were doing on the ships. And I said, I really, it's hard to conceive a rabbi who is also an electrical engineer. I asked him what exactly kind of work did he do in the Navy Yard, being a supervisor of what? And he said that all these Liberty ships and all the ships that came into the Navy Yard, that being constructed in the Navy Yard, they all had electricians wiring them completely for lighting, for power, for all the electrical controls and so on. And he says, and his job was to go with the blueprints and see that all the wiring was done according to blueprints. Actually, to check that the wiring was done right, which is a very, very responsible job. And he said that he did this work with a great appreciation, because he said that at least I did my share for the war effort of the United States, which gave me shelter. Then he said, "Now I hear from Rabbi Besser that you are an electrical engineer yourself." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "And Rabbi Besser is giving you compliments as a knowledgeable engineer. And this is where I would like to ask you some questions, if you don't mind. I want you to explain to me some things." And I said, "What is it that I can explain to you?" And he said, "I hear that there's something new coming around, which is something called transistor, solid state." And I said, "Of course, this is the future." And he said, "Can you explain to me, what is it all about? How does it work? How does it work?" He was really eager to really get to know details about it. And before you know it, he had a yellow pad. And I pulled my pen, he had a pencil, and I came to the table. And what turned supposed to have been a 15 minutes meeting turned up to be close to 2 hours. And we compared the size of a little transistor, which is a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch, into a vacuum tube, which is 4 inches high and over an inch wide. And the transformers, the fact that transistors are using very low voltages, 5 volts, 6 volts, at maximum 12, as compared to the audio amplifiers of the day, which were using 450 volts, and transformers that were weighing 2 pounds apiece. The rabbi sort of went into a mode of thinking for a second, and then he says, "In that case, tell me, am I right that this is actually going to revolutionize the whole field of electronics? That electronic devices that are now weighing tremendously, weighing so heavily and so on, in the kilograms, are going to be weighing a small fraction of that. So I said, that's precisely what the potential of the whole development of the transistor is. We also went into control. I remember it specifically, that we are using, at those days, we were using electric rheostats. Rheostats are rotary devices that control the speed of motors. And he had a lot to do with it in the Navy, in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And he asked me, will solid state allow devices that are not as big, clumsy, and heavy as the rheostats, the variable speed controllers. And I told him that at that time, I already knew that they are working on solid state speed controls. And he went into details on that. The man was eager to know as much as possible in details about the developments in solid state versus vacuum tubes, in controls, motors, amplifications. I was amazed by it. I couldn't believe that the man knew all these things.